What's going on there, ballers? Thank you, and welcome back to another edition of our show. I'm your host, Joe Grata. I want to thank you for kicking off your week for another exciting week of baseball as we round out and get to the back end of our year. Today is Tuesday, August 26th, and we've got plenty to unpack. We're going to recap what went down over this past weekend as the big dumper, Cal Raleigh, made history this past Sunday as he hit not one but two home runs to set the new single season record for most home runs hit by a catcher. We'll break it down and what historical significance it means to the game of baseball. The Red Sox dominated the Yankees, taking 3 out of 4 in the Bronx, improving to 7-2 on the year. We'll discuss what it means for both sides and the postseason outlook. Padres get an important home series against the LA Dodgers. They take 2 out of 3. It's the last time those two teams meet, so we'll meet. We'll also discuss what it means in terms of postseason significance. The Texas Rangers sweep to keep their season alive. They are hanging on by a thread in that wild card race, but they get 3 important wins against the Cleveland Guardians to kick off their homestand. We'll take a little closer look at that. And then, speaking of all this postseason talk, we will be sure to take a quick walk around the league, give an update on the division leaders and where each team on the American League and National League stand in terms of their wild card chances. Season is absolutely moving along, and we are approaching the back half of this 162 marathon. New week, new opportunities, and still plenty of ball to be played. Let's talk all about it. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Bases, Barrels, and Ball Players. We want to give you all a friendly reminder of where you can find us aside from our weekly episode releases, which you can find on your favorite podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and a ton more. It's amazing, honestly. I feel like we find a new platform that both Bases, Barrels, and Ball Players and A's Day are on. So it's very exciting to continue to be able to grow our audience, to grow this game to new heights. But we also want to give a reminder of where you can find us on our social media platforms, on Instagram at Bases, Barrels, Ball Players, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Bases, Barrels 25. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel, Bases, Barrels, and Ball Players. You'll see the yellow logo just like you see behind my shoulder. We have tons of baseball content that we've already been able to post and will continue to post for your enjoyment, the lovely audience. And be sure to be an official subscriber of our Patreon site, patreon.com/bases, barrels, and ball players for just $2 a month. You'll be entered to win monthly Bases, Barrels, and Ball Players t-shirts, MLB autograph memorabilia, future MLB ticket giveaways, and so much more as we are able to grow this platform collaboratively. All right. With that, let's get to the first topic at hand. Cal Raleigh, catcher for the Seattle Mariners. He made history over the weekend. This past Sunday against the Athletics in an 11-4 victory. He hit not one, but two home runs. The first home run he hit was a 2-run homer in the first inning of that game off of Jacob Lopez, gave the Mariners a 2-0 lead, and it also tied the single season record for most home runs hit by a catcher, which was set by Salvador Perez, who was the catcher for the Kansas City Royals. He set that mark back in 2021. And then in the third inning, it was move over. There was a new record holder. Cal Raleigh hit another 2-run home run off of Jacob Lopez, extending their lead. But he also set the single season record for most home runs hit by a catcher at 49 at the time. Congratulations. Could seem like it couldn't happen to a much nicer guy. And he is in the thick of a AL MVP chase with him and Aaron Judge, as well as the Mariners being in a playoff chase. So a lot of baseball buzz around the Emerald City up in Seattle. Certainly was a busy weekend there. And now Raleigh has another opportunity to chase more milestones. So he was at 49 on Sunday. And actually now another game has been played since then, and he hit home run number 50 last night. So now he becomes the second player ever in Seattle Mariners history to hit 50 or more home runs. And then now he is 4 home runs away from tying the most home runs hit in a single season by a switch hitter. So if you didn't know that, Cal Raleigh hits from the right and left side of the plate. The record holder is Mickey Mantle, who did it with the New York Yankees back in 1961. He hit 54 that year. So that's the next milestone that Raleigh is chasing. And with his 9th multi-home run game this past Sunday, he does pass Griffey for most multi-homer games in a season in Mariners history. So it's been rather impressive. I'm sure it's been a whirlwind for Raleigh. He's always been a solid player, but he seems to be taking that huge next step. I mean, he's well on his way, obviously, to the Silver Slugger for catchers. He got the All-Star start. He just set the single season record for most home runs hit by a catcher. He's going to keep adding onto it with basically a full month still to play. So I'm sure this has been a dream year for him. And the Mariners, they are well in playoff positioning, and they have to make sure they do everything they can to hold on and stay there. They got the formula to do so, but I'm sure this has been a dream come true for Raleigh. Let's see where it ends up for him and his Mariners club. So just wanted to kick off the show. Congratulations to Cal Raleigh. Such an honor. And what an amazing season he's having for a catcher, leading the league in home runs. First guy to 50 home runs in the year. Very impressive stuff indeed. All right. And with that, let's move on to our next baseball topic of discussion. Of course, we are going to highlight one of the main series over the weekend. It was a 4-game set that started this past Thursday night in the Bronx. The Red Sox were in town to take on the New York Yankees. Red Sox, they, like I mentioned at the top of the show, they took 3 out of 4 in this one. They improved to 7-2 on the year against the Yankees. They leave the weekend a half game up on the Yankees in the standings. And in fact, both teams won last night. The Red Sox came from behind and beat the Orioles in Baltimore. I believe that score was 4-3. And the Yankees jumped the Nationals, won that one 10-5. So those standings remain the same. Rookie Roman Anthony, let's get to kind of a brief overview of what went down in this 4-game set. So Thursday were some fireworks in that 9th inning. Rookie Roman Anthony, he clubbed a 3-run home run during Thursday's game in his first career game in Yankee Stadium to secure the 6-3 Game 1 victory on Thursday night. Nathaniel Lowe in that game, he had the go-ahead RBI double in the 7th off Luke Weaver. Notably on the Yankees side, Ben Rice, he's been really turning it on as of late. He hit his 20th home run on the year and added a triple in this one, respectively. Boston's bullpen was absolute nails, too, as well. They covered 5 1/3 innings pitched, scoreless baseball. That's going to give your team every opportunity to have your offense break through eventually. And so shout out to them. And Aroldis Chapman, he's having a renaissance season. It's amazing stuff. He actually had 2 saves in this series. We'll get to a little bit more about him in the next game. Yankees, though, it seems like they continue to struggle to do the little things right. And it seems to rear its ugly head the worst when they're playing teams above 500. They make 4 more errors in this one, and it just seems like they're not taking care of the baseball. And that's something that they may be able to outslug when they're playing teams below 500 or teams that may be struggling. But when they're playing teams like the Red Sox and Blue Jays, they're going to capitalize on those situations. And when you see, even in a game where, it was competitive all through until the 9th and, Roman Anthony puts that one away, making 4 errors in the game and still having an opportunity to win, that must speak volumes to what the pitching has been doing to keep you in ball games. So just something of note there. It's been very sloppy play, and just hope they're able to clean it up in time and make sure they stay in playoff positioning before it may cost them down the stretch here. But Friday, we'll move along here. That was more of a pitcher's duel featuring a matchup of Ryan Baio and Max Fried. Both starters were brilliant, and especially Fried, he needed this one. He has a 6+ ERA since the All-Star break. Wonder if there's something going on. I know he was dealing with some blister issues right before the All-Star break. You wonder if just trying to get that consistent grip back, or if there's something going else on, or hitters are just having a better plan against him. But nevertheless, he was absolutely dominant in this one. Fried went 6 innings, 4 hits allowed, no runs, 3 walks, 7 Ks. Baio, however, matched him step for step. It was absolutely brilliant himself. He went 7 innings, 3 hits allowed, no runs as well, 1 walk and 5 Ks. The lone run in this one actually came via an RBI double by Connor Wong. Former Yankee Aroldis Chapman slams the door shut, and with his patent stare secures the Red Sox 1-0 game 2 victory in this one. And then on to game 3. It would be interesting to see if the trend seems like lately Boston has had the upper hand in this matchup, in this rivalry, and seeing if they would be able to clinch the series victory in this one. Garrett Crochet, their ace, who's having an AL Cy Young Award-worthy season, would be going up against the rookie Will Warren. Red Sox built a 5-0 lead off of Warren after by the end of the 4th inning, with Trevor Story contributing a 2-run double and a solo home run, along with sac flies by former Yankee Carlos Narvaez and Alex Bregman. Yankees would get their lone run in this one via a Giancarlo Stanton home run, and then Boston would run away this one with a laugher. Crochet, even himself, after he recorded his final strikeout, which would end his inning through 7 with a nasty strikeout. It was a knee buckling swing. Couldn't help but flash a smile as his day was done. Cy Young contender was absolutely dominant in this one. He went 7 innings, 5 hits allowed, 1 run, 1 walk, 11 Ks. Boston would add a 7-run ninth, much to the chagrin of the Bronx faithful who just wanted this nightmare to end. Red Sox take Game 3 12-1 and clinch the road 4-game series against the Yankees. And then it would be on to Sunday Night Baseball. Yankees look to avoid the sweep. And finally, the bats awoke against starter Dustin May. Jazz Chisholm and Trent Grisham each hit 2 home runs, and Jazz's each being of the 2-run variety, while Grish hit a pair of solo homers, with them getting a 7th run via a Jose Caballero sacrifice fly. Carlos Rodon was great in this one when the team needed a victory, needed a stopper. Rodon, 5 2/3 innings pitched, only the 1 hit allowed, 2 runs, 5 walks, 3 Ks. Yankees got to May and avoid the sweep, winning the rubber match of this one on Sunday Night Baseball 7-2. So Red Sox absolutely dominated the series, and the Yankees needed to claw for that in that 4th game to avoid the 4-game sweep. Doesn't really change my opinion of where this Yankees team's at until they prove me wrong and start showing a more consistent brand of baseball. I think the theme has been pretty evident. They size up and are able to open it up on teams that are below 500 and will look like they're playing at an elite level in those games. And then when it comes to playing teams like the Red Sox, like the Blue Jays, the Tigers, they just don't seem up to par at the moment. And it's not talent-wise. Absolutely not. In fact, the Yankees on paper are one of the most talented teams in the whole league. It's coming down to doing the fundamentals right, down to playing baseball the right way. Like I mentioned earlier in this brief series recap, Yankees keep kicking the ball around. They keep firing the ball. They keep making mental errors. They're not playing baseball. And that combination, making poor base running decisions, and then being overly reliant on scoring runs via the home run, that's not going to be a formula to be successful in postseason baseball. Do you need to hit home runs in postseason baseball? Absolutely. Like you look at the last several World Series winning teams, or the teams that at least made it to the World Series, were typically 1 and 2 in terms of postseason home runs hit. However, those teams are also versatile and find different ways to win. They run the bases right. They take care of the baseball. They hit well situationally. They have more ways that they can beat you. They're not one-dimensional. When you become one-dimensional, you can make a plan against that. And I think, especially in October baseball, when you're going to be facing higher quality pitching like a Garrett Crochet, you can't just play wall ball. You got to string hits together. You got to run first to third. You got to do hit and runs. Yes, the home runs need to be there, but you got to put innings together where maybe you get a leadoff walk, maybe you get a couple leadoff walks, bunt the guy over, hit a sac fly. That's baseball. That's going to happen more. And they were on the stretch where they hit 14 home runs in 2 games against Tampa. Tampa's been struggling rather of late, and having, I think it was 20 or 21 consecutive runs scored via the home run. Yeah, it's great when you do it in high volume, but you're not going to be facing those type of teams in October. So that's just something to keep a note of. Want to talk more about the Red Sox, though. They've been absolutely clicking, especially since the All-Star break. They get great pitching performances by Crochet and Bayo. Giolito battled, and this bullpen is fearsome, and it's being back-ended with Aroldis Chapman, who's having an absolute renaissance of a season. I think his ERA is down to a 1.06, 25 saves, absolutely dominant stuff, and suddenly has cleaned up his command issues that he had towards the back end of his Yankee time, as well as his stops in Pittsburgh and Kansas City and Texas. But now it seems like he's found something that works, and he's back. In fact, maybe having his best season at age 30. I think he's 35, I believe. So that's shout out to him. I think Boston's a legit threat. They've got everything, and they do a good job of connecting at bats. They steal bases. They run first to third well. They take care of the ball pretty well. And they've got a nice balance of young guys as well as some core veterans. And I just think this team has a good grit and good fight. And it just feels like they have that winning DNA that starts with their manager. So I'm going to start Boston as a team that I'm very confident that they are going to secure a playoff spot. And I don't think you're going to want to see that team in October. They're going to be a tough out indeed. So shout out to them. They took care of business. They got a much needed series victory against their rivals, and they remain a half game ahead of them in the wild card standing. So very impressive stuff from them. We'll see how it shakes out to see where each of these teams end up in the wild card standings, or if any of them make a huge push at the end and make a push for the AL East, where I believe the Blue Jays are 5 games up on the Red Sox and 5.5 up on the Yankees. All right, let's move on to the next topic. The San Diego Padres, they take care of the Dodgers at Petco Park. They take 2 out of 3. This was the last matchup of the 2025 regular season, so the previous weekend, the Dodgers and Padres met in LA. The Dodgers swept that 3-game set. Now the series switches to San Diego. They take 2 out of 3 in that one. Perhaps this could be a preview of October baseball, as Padres took game 1 2-1, receiving a vintage Yu Darvish start. He went 6 innings, only allowed a hit, 1 run, 1 walk, 5 Ks. The former Padre on the other side, now with the LA Dodgers, Blake Snell, was rather good in this one too. He went 7 innings, 6 hits allowed, 2 runs, 2 walks, 5 Ks. Dodgers did get the scoring started in this one with a solo home run from Alex Freeland in the second, before the Padres stormed back with 2 in the fourth via an RBI single by Manny Machado and a Xander Bogaerts sacrifice fly. Robert Suarez nailed down his 34th save in this one, securing the 2-1 victory. Game 2 was a patented matchup. Tyler Glasnow would be getting the ball for the Dodgers, going up against nasty Nestor Cortez. And Cortez set the tone in this one. He was absolutely dominant as well. He went 6 innings, only allowed 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 3 Ks. Off Glasnow in the fourth, Padres got 3 with 2, coming on a single from Ramon Laureano and another via a Jake Cronenworth RBI or a sacrifice fly to grab a Padres 3-0 lead. Alex Freeland hit another home run now in back-to-back nights. He hits another solo home run to bring the score within 3-1 in the 8th. In the bottom half of that same inning, the San Diego Padres, they get some much-needed insurance runs via a 2-run double by Bogaerts. Padres would grab this one 5-1 and clinch the series victory against the LA Dodgers by taking the first 2. Dodgers, at this point, looking to avoid the sweep in the rubber match against their fierce rival, and they deliver. Game 3 featured a pitching matchup of Yoshinobu Yamamoto versus Nick Pivetta, another solid pitching matchup. They were all solid throughout the series. Would be very exciting pitching matchups for postseason baseball. Trailing 2-1 in the 6th, the Dodgers turn their power on as Freddie Freeman hits a solo home run to tie the game before heading to the 7th, as Dalton Rushing clubbed a 3-run home run. And soon after, Freddie Freeman would hit another home run in this one, a 2-run home run, his second of the day, to give the Dodgers a comfortable 7-2 lead. And just for good measure, and to finally silence the loud heckler that was right by the Dodger dugout all day, Shohei Ohtani absolutely demolishes a solo home run in the 9th and even high-fives his heckler. Dodgers win 8-2 and avoid the series sweep. So the Dodgers won't meet again in the regular season, but wow, this is absolute baseball theater, and every game feels like October baseball. Dodgers are ahead in the standings currently due to the hot tiebreaker, but they do have identical records. They're both going in 74 and 57, so it'll be exciting to see how this year ends out. I do think this could be a division race that goes down to the wire. Would love to see a 163rd game between these two teams. I'm sure it would be absolute intensity and would be a great way to kick off postseason baseball indeed. Padres, they did a good job stymieing the Dodgers for the most part. They came to life in game 3 to salvage the 3-game set, the last one. Padres starting pitching really set the tone. They covered 18 innings, only the 4 hits allowed and 3 runs. That's going to give you every opportunity to win ball games and win an important series. They really all 3 guys stepped up when the team needed them. Like I said, hopefully this would be a great division series matchup or championship series. This would be intense and wouldn't want to miss a pitch. So with that, one other team over this past weekend, they stepped up big time to potentially keep their series alive. The Texas Rangers, they swept the Cleveland Guardians in a 3-game set to kick off an important 6-game homestand. They swept the Guardians by scores of 4-3, 10-0, and 5-0. Jack Leiter, he struck out a career high 10 batters in game 1 of this series, or game 2 of this series. And Merrill Kelly, he pitched 7 shutout innings in the rubber match to set the foundation for the Rangers to complete a 3-game sweep. Much needed sweep here, much needed wins. Seemed like the season was kind of slipping away. And Texas Rangers are one of those teams where you kind of scratch your head and you're wondering, are they good? Are they bad? Are they going to middle out? The pitching is there. Again, I wouldn't want to face DeGrom and Evaldi, especially in a tight and a short 5-game series. Just not sure if that offense is going to be able to supplement enough in the postseason to make any noise. The defense has been all right, but it's just that offense. When it goes cold, it goes dormant. But they were pretty consistent in this series, and let's see if that catapults them to get closer and closer in the wild card standings. They moved back within 4.5 games of that final wild card spot and are still 6.5 back of the AL West crown. So certainly some work to do, but they've at least given themselves a chance with a little bit over a month still to play. They're going to need some more consistency from that offense. They're going to need their big boys like Adolis Garcia and Corey Seager to step it up. It's really been a tough blow losing Marcus Semien. He is on the 10-day IL. Hopefully they get him back sooner rather than later. I don't know the full extent of the injury. Rangers fans, chime in. You know your team better than I do. Hopefully that will be another important bat to get back in to hopefully get Texas where they're hoping to go. Rangers pitching, they've been absolutely dominant. They're one of the best. They're top 5 in the league. I believe they're leading the league in ERA. If not, they're top 2 or 3. But they've got an important stretch right now coming up, and they've got to take care of business. Didn't get off to a good start. They lost a 4-0 game to the Angels at home. They got 2 more. They got to get those 2 because this week they've got 3 at the Angels, then 3 at the A's, and then 3 at Arizona. So these are 9 games against teams under 500. I know the A's have been scrappy. They've been the 3rd best team in baseball since the All-Star break. But nevertheless, if you're the Rangers, you got to go out there. You got to win. You got to go 6-3 in the stretch to have any chance to stay in this AL wildcard race. It's right there in front of them. And let's see if they have an opportunity to do, what this experienced team can do. They have, the World Series isn't that far away. And I know there are some, new faces in town, but nevertheless, you still have that core that knows what it takes to get the job done. So let's see if they turn it on over this last month and start playing a better, more consistent, unified brand of baseball, because the pitching's been there all year. It's just been the offenses that's let them down at certain points. All right. Let's take a quick look around the league. We'll take a look at the postseason standings to give us all a better idea of how some of these teams have been shaping up. So let's start on the American League side. Let's get to the AL. We'll go east to west, I'd say. We'll start in the AL East. The Toronto Blue Jays are 77-55. They are in first place. In second place is the Boston Red Sox. They're at 72-60 and are 5 games back of first place. The New York Yankees are right behind them at 71-60. They're 5.5 games out of first place. And then it's rounded out by the Tampa Bay Rays at 64-67, 12.5 back. And the Baltimore Orioles, in the midst of a disappointing year, at 60-71. They are 16.5 games back in last place. Over in the American League Central, the Detroit Tigers, they remain in first place and have firm control of the division. They're at 78-55 with the best record in the American League. They are 10.5 games up of second place, Kansas City. The Royals are at 67-65. The Cleveland Guardians, coming off a tough weekend, they are 64-66 and are 12.5 games back. They're in third place. In fourth place, the Minnesota Twins at 59-72, 18 games back. And rounding out the division in fifth place and last, the Chicago White Sox, 48-83 and 29 games out of first place. And then to round out the American League, at least the division standings, they are the AL West. The Houston Astros are in first place at 72-59. The Seattle Mariners are hot on their trail. They are in second place at 71-61, a game and a half out. The Texas Rangers are in third place at 66-67. They're 7 games out. And the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are in fourth place at 62-69, 10 games back of first place. And in last place, the Athletics are 61-72, 12 games back of first place. And now in terms of the wild card, before we move on to the National League, currently the wild card standings are as follows. So on each side, each league gets 3 representatives for the wild card positioning. So it is the Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, and Seattle Mariners. The Red Sox are 1 game up in the first position. The Yankees are a half game behind them. And then Seattle's a half game behind the Yankees. So very tight at the top. As for the teams that are vying for that spot, we won't go through each team, but the Kansas City Royals are 4 games back of that final wild card spot. The Texas Rangers, like we mentioned, they're actually now 5.5 games back. They did lose yesterday. My apologies. The Cleveland Guardians are 6 games back. The Rays 6.5, and I think we'll cap it there. So that's the picture and where the postseason standings are at through approximately 133 games. Let's see what it looks like as we make our way into the final month of regular season baseball. Now, let's go on over to the National League. In the National League East, the Philadelphia Phillies are in first place at 76 and 55. In second place, the New York Mets are 70 and 61, and they're 6 games back of first. The Miami Marlins are in third place. They're 62 and 69. They are 14 games out of first. The Atlanta Braves are 59 and 72. They're 17 games out. And rounding out the National League East in last place are the Washington Nationals. They're 53 and 78, 23 games back of first place. Over in the National League Central, the Milwaukee Brewers remain out the top at 82 and 50 with the league's best record. The Chicago Cubs are in second place at 76 and 55. They are 5.5 games back of first place. The Cincinnati Reds are 68 and 64, 14 games back. The St. Louis Cardinals are 65 and 67, 17 games back. And rounding out the NL Central are the Pittsburgh Pirates at 57 and 75. They're 25 games back of first place. And rounding out the division standings in the National League West, the Los Angeles Dodgers now are 75 and 57. San Diego Padres, they lost yesterday. They're 74 and 58. They're a game back of first. The Arizona Diamondbacks in third place at 64 and 68. 11 games out. The San Francisco Giants are in fourth at 63 and 68. They're 11.5 out. And the first team to officially be eliminated from postseason contention. And in last place, the Colorado Rockies, 37 and 94. They are 37.5 games out of first place. And in terms of the National League wildcard race, the three teams in playoff positioning are the Chicago Cubs, who are 6 games up. The San Diego Padres are in that second position. They're 3.5 games up. And the New York Mets are in that third and final position. The teams that are vying for that final spot, the Cincinnati Reds are 2.5 games out. The St. Louis Cardinals are 5.5 games out. And the Arizona Diamondbacks are 6.5 out. So that rounds out the current picture of the postseason race. We'll see if anything changes rather drastically. If so, I'm sure we'll have at least another update or two before it all is said and done. We're looking forward to seeing when these teams start clinching playoff positioning, and we could start previewing potential playoff matchups. That is always the fun part of the year, indeed. Okay, before we get on out of here, we're just going to give you 3 series to watch at the first half of this year, as well as make a home run prediction, and then get on out of here and let you enjoy the full new week of baseball. So the Phillies and the Mets will be facing off in Queens. The Mets took game 1 13-3. Padres, Mariners, they'll be going up against one another. Mariners took game 1 last night, 9-6. As mentioned, Kyle Raleigh hit his 50th home run of the year in that one. And the Reds are in LA taking on the Dodgers. Dodgers took game 1, 7-0. As for our home run prediction, we believe that Kyle Schwarber will swat at least 1 home run over these next 2 games against the Mets. He continues his hot hitting, as I believe he is the NL league leader in home runs currently. And with that wraps another edition of Bases, Barrels, and Ball Players. We are thankful to be back behind the mic talking about our great game. So many great players, so many great teams in action, so many rookies doing some out-of-these-world things, making history, and we're so glad to be here talking all about it. Speaking of history, we talked about on today's show, Cal Raleigh. He set the record for single-season home runs hit by a catcher over this past weekend, passing the previous record set by Salvador Perez, and he continues to add on to his new record mark. He hit his 50th home run last night, only the second player in Mariners history to ever do that. Red Sox dominated the Yankees in their famous rivalry, 3 out of 4 in the Bronx. They look forward to getting closer and closer to securing playoff positioning for the first time in 4 years. Padres get a much-needed series victory versus the Dodgers. They are now, as of Tuesday, a game behind the Dodgers. They did leave the weekend tied with the identical record. Texas, they swept the Cleveland Guardians over the weekend to keep their playoff hopes alive. Did drop one last night, but they are still within striking distance with a little over a month of the season still remaining. And we gave you three series to watch at the first half of this week, and we predicted that Kyle Schwarber will hit at least one home run over these next couple games against the New York Mets. We will be back once again behind the mic on Friday's show. We're going to do a recap of what went down around the league earlier in this week. We will highlight some key matchups to look forward to over the weekend. We're going to do a little case study if the Mets are actually good or not, because it's been kind of topsy-turvy in Queens this year. And then we'll give you a reminder of what you can expect. We are going to be up in Sutter Health Park covering the Rangers Athletics game. We're going to get some cool behind-the-scenes footage, maybe get a couple of interviews with some A's players, but definitely get some good player interactions with both the A's and Rangers too as well. And that'll be readily made available next week. So lots to look forward to. Especially throughout this week and then the kickoff next weekend for sure. We're looking forward to sharing all of this wonderful baseball content with you, the lovely audience, to stay true to our mission to grow this wonderful game to new heights. That's all I got for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Grado. Hope each and every one of you have a great week. Enjoy all the baseball and let us know what you think. We're always down for some baseball chatter. That's all for me. Take care, ballers. We'll see you Friday. Play ball.